Arrested Development. It's one of the most critically acclaimed comedies of all time and beloved by its small yet loyal fanbase. It raised the bar for television comedy, set the standard going forward, and came back from the dead a couple years before it was the hip thing to do. Today on TV Junkie, I want to take a look at the history of Arrested Development.
It's the fall's best new sitcom. Hilarious. The one, the only must-see sitcom. The funniest new comedy. Usually critics' quotes are only good for one thing.
Shredder? No. Save it. Save it. Shredder.
But ignoring these would be criminal. Arrested Development. Series premieres Sunday, November 2nd on Fox.
In the summer of 2002, mega producer Ron Howard was looking to create a new sitcom in the style of reality television. Quick mobile cameras, natural lighting, and an overall realistic tone to the production design. The idea was that this reality style would lower costs while allowing the show's writers and directors more fluidity to change the show while filming.
I felt like that there was a way to do a sitcom that would feel very spontaneous and could be dense, comedically dense.
Somewhere else in Hollywood, Mitchell Hurwitz was a seasoned television writer who had worked on productions such as The Golden Girls and The John Larroquette Show. He also created Ellen DeGeneres' second sitcom and another program called Everything's Relative. Keep that in mind, it'll come up again later. Hurwitz had this idea of a story involving a large family going from riches to rags in a manner similar to the Enron scandal at the time. One thing led to another. Hurwitz and Howard met, they both fell in love with each other's ideas pretty much off the bat, and thus the groundwork for their future sitcom was laid.
You know, I talked to a few different, showrunners. Mitch Hurwitz was one of them, and he took to it instantly. He loved it. Not only did he like the tone, but he had this idea for this family.
In the fall of 2002, Ron Howard's production company, Imagine Entertainment, signed Mitchell Hurwitz to create their new show. After a contested bidding war, Fox won the rights to the new program over NBC. From the outset, this show was designed to be as untraditional as possible, with its large cast of unlikable characters and realistic documentary tone. To reach that end, Hurwitz and Howard brought in the Russo brothers to flesh out the show's visual style. If the Russo brothers sound familiar, they just directed this, you might have seen it. The Russo brothers directed the pilot episode to Arrested Development and many episodes over its first and second years.
The guys that directed the pilot and a lot of the subsequent episodes, Joe and Anthony Russo, they're brothers, they're not lovers. They attacked this thing with this great kind of independent filmmaker guerrilla mentality.
They established the directorial style on Arrested Development, which involved the cast themselves leading the overall motions of a scene and the cameras following them around rather than having each scene be blocked out specifically in advance.
Shot very freeform. It's a very pseudo sort of documentary style. It breaks the rules, it loosens it up because the actors have a very free, they're free to roam where they want.
The pilot script was completed in January of 2003, and casting began with the primary goal of getting actors together who could believably act and look like a family unit. Alia Shawkat, Michael Cera, Tony Hale, Jessica Walter, Portia de Rossi, and Jason Bateman as the show's anchor were quickly cast. The hardest main role to fill was that of Job Bluth, eventually filled by Will Arnett. Before arriving at Arnett, however, the part was offered to sketch comedy veteran David Cross.
They wanted me to look at Buster and Job. I had no handle on Job. I didn't know who that character was. It didn't intuitively come to me.
The last role to be cast was that of family patriarch George Bluth, and the part was won by Jeffrey Tambor. Remember that show Everything's Relative that I mentioned? Turns out Jeffrey Tambor worked on that show. He was a star, so he and Hurwitz already had a connection. Hurwitz called him up, asked him to come in for one day of shooting without the intention of his part being a regular, but he worked so well, along with David Cross as Tobias Funke, that both characters were made permanent parts of the show instead of the guest roles that were originally intended. The pilot for Arrested Development, the title of which refers to the emotional immaturity of the Bluth family, was filmed in March of 2003, edited in April of 2003, and submitted to Fox for review in May. Ron Howard narrated the pilot episode, which was intended to be replaced by someone else later on, but Howard's dry tone fit the show's humor so well he was kept permanently.
In fact, Tobias had intended to park the family's only vehicle at the airport parking lot.
Arrested Development premiered on November 2nd, 2003, and immediately sued by hip-hop act Arrested Development for using the same name. This lawsuit was soon settled out of court. The show was hailed as a revolutionary sitcom by major outlets. It was considered the rare sitcom that was fully developed out of the gate, rather taking half of a year to find itself, as is normally the case. Its premiere to almost 8 million viewers would be considered a success today, but 13 years ago the market was much more competitive, and the premiere was seen as disappointing. In its first season, Arrested Development was just the 120th most popular show that year, averaging just over 6 million viewers.
Is it frustrating that you're doing something you love so much and you're not maybe getting the recognition for it?
We're certainly getting critical recognition, and you guys
yeah,
are
but definitely.
It was constantly threatened by cancellation in its first year and perhaps survived only because of the fantastic critical reception. Fox at the time was remembered for canceling the critically praised but audience-unfriendly sitcom Undeclared after one season, and perhaps didn't want a similar backlash with Arrested Development. Recognition finally arrived in the summer of 2004 between the show's first and second seasons, when Arrested Development won at the Writers Guild Awards, Television Critics Association Awards, and won the Outstanding Comedy Series Emmy, along with individual Emmys for Hurwitz and the Russo brothers.
And the Emmy goes to Arrested Development.
This is the first year Arrested Development has been eligible for the Emmy, and they have received a total of 7 Emmy nominations.
Arrested Development's ratings remained stable, but slightly decreased in its second season, with 6 million viewers tuning in on average. It was not enough to compensate for the show's awards, and in February of 2005, the show's second season was cut from 22 episodes to 18, a sign of Fox's lack of long-term confidence in the program. More specifically, the show was cut to make way for the new Seth MacFarlane sitcom American Dad.
I got an idea for what you can do. Why don't you fire your complete marketing team, all right? Get a new one in there. Knows how to market a show that won 5 Emmys, Golden Globes, SAG Awards. If you can't market that kind of show and get better ratings, then maybe the problem doesn't lie here. Maybe it lies with marketing.
Season 3 premiered on September 19, 2005 with a new Monday nighttime slot intended to reach new viewers.
Yeah, we're going to be on Monday this year, and hopefully, I think that'll give us about 14 million more than last year.
The season premiere was the least watched in the show's history, with only 4.6 million viewers tuning in, and after just 4 episodes of the third season, Fox dealt the death sentence. The third season would be capped at 13 episodes and the show removed from November sweeps, a time when networks promote their best performing shows for advertisers. The show was all but officially canceled, with the episode SOBs featuring the show coming to grips with its own mortality.
Hey. So what's going on with the fundraiser?
Well, I don't think the Home Builders Organization is going to be supporting us.
Yeah, the HBO's not going to want us. What do we do now?
Well, I think it's showtime. I think we have to have a show during dinner.
Still, the show was not officially canceled, and behind the scenes there were talks of keeping the show alive at a new destination. In particular, ABC and Showtime were both in discussions to continue the show. Showtime made it further in the process than ABC and actually offered to pick up the show for 2 seasons of 12 episodes each. However, Mitchell Hurwitz, at this point in March of 2006, decided not to continue with the show, and without Mitchell Hurwitz, Showtime did not want more Arrested Development. On March 27th, 2006, Arrested Development was dead in the water. In a giant middle finger move from Fox, the final 4 episodes of the third season were scheduled to air on February 10th, 2006, directly against the opening ceremonies to the Torino Winter Olympics. Unwilling to go quietly into the night, with its final line possibly ever, the show created an idea that would drive the future of the franchise.
I don't see it as a series. Maybe a movie.
The Arrested Development movie was one of the biggest punchlines in Hollywood. Everyone wanted it to be made, but the project just never came together. Hurwitz created 2 more sitcoms for Fox, Sit Down, Shut Up, and Running Wild, both failures. Jason Bateman became a movie star, and the rest of the cast found other roles in Hollywood. From 2006 through 2011, the movie was always in different stages of production, depending on who you asked.
Millions of hearts remain aflutter tonight after actor Jason Bateman, erstwhile star of television's smartest sitcom ever, Arrested Development, raised from the dead. The prospects of a movie picking up where his series left off.
We're thinking about maybe doing a movie if White Hot here can squeeze us into the schedule.
Is there going to be an Arrested Development movie?
I hope so. Yeah, I think so.
Are you asking me if threatening Fox would be effective in getting the movie made? I don't know.
The blame game continued until October of 2011 when the New Yorker Festival organized a panel for Arrested Development. It was the first time all the cast members and the show's creator were in the same room since the show's cancellation, and the biggest announcement in the history of the world happened here.
We're trying to do kind of a limited run series into the movie. There are deal things to be worked out,
Limited run TV series.
A limited run TV series
Yeah.
that we've been talking.
Less than a month later, Netflix, which was looking to expand into original content, more on that here, link in the description. Netflix signed on to distribute 10-ish new episodes of Arrested Development. The plan from the beginning was to center each episode on a different Bluth family member to explain the last 5 years of their life while setting up for the eventual movie. The reason for each episode being centered on one character was because it was simply impossible to sequester all 9 actors of the Bluth family together for about 6 months of filming. For the 4th season, Michael Cera joined the writer's room of Arrested Development, and Mitch Hurwitz went behind the camera with Troy Miller, a sitcom veteran. Together, they would film the entire season out of narrative order, filming a different scene each day depending on the availability of the actors. Filming started on August 7th. Each episode was budgeted at $3 million on the high side for sitcoms. The season was also filmed in 4K resolution, which added a cinematic feel but took away from the reality TV camera style. Jason Bateman was the only actor to appear in every episode, and his availability was limited as he spent September onwards producing, directing, and starring in dark comedy Bad Words. For season 4, the cast was paid on a sliding scale for each episode based on screen time. The stars earned $125,000 for episodes they headlined, $50,000 for appearing in a couple scenes, and $10,000 for under 90 seconds. According to Hurwitz, half the season was filmed on green screen to simulate the actors being together. The entire cast was only assembled for 2 days of filming at Lucille's penthouse. In the spring of 2013, Netflix went all in with marketing the revival of Arrested Development. It became a huge event. The return of one of the most beloved sitcoms of the 21st century was returning for not just 10, but 15 episodes, all to be released on May 26, 2013. The internet collectively lost its mind in anticipation, and finally, 7 years after the promise of a movie, Arrested Development had returned. Overall, people liked the new season, but didn't love it. The season was never going to match the sky-high anticipation that had built up through the years, and separating the Bluth family took away some of the show's manic energy. The episodes were overlong with slow pacing and lacking the show's original, realistic handheld camera style. That said, I still found it to be funny, with a well-planned story that unfolded over the whole season. I think the season holds up well in a rewatch, and Mitch Hurwitz and Ron Howard have spent the past year and a half recutting season 4 into 22 new chronological order episodes, similar to the first 3 seasons, with new jokes and new narration. I have high hopes for this recut, and I look forward to its eventual release, wherever that may be. As for a 5th season of Arrested Development, or the long-discussed movie, well, we're basically back to where we were after season 3. Everyone wants to make more, but right now it's primarily a matter of scheduling. The difference now is, since the show has already proven it can come back to life once, we the fans are more confident in its ability to come back to life again. Hopefully this time, however, its second revival will be much closer in spirit to the first 3 seasons.
I think this will be a classic, that show you look back on and go, God, I wish that would have lasted more than 1 season.
Alright, that is all I've got for you today. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please, let's have a conversation in the comments below. Subscribe to my channel if you have not done so already, and stay tuned for more here on TVJunkie.
Do you even have a career plan?
Yeah, does getting laid count?
No!
Mitchell D. Hurwitz is Kugler.